Enough. All right, joining me is CA Conservative, although his screen name appears to have changed there.
And I think that's the one I always have, is that is
Really?
my
Cameron?
name.
Okay, do I just call you Cameron now or CA?
It doesn't really matter if you note my username that Cameron is in the middle of it. So,
Fair enough. Okay, well, you cannot minimize Zoom while you are recording this meeting. Why don't we just call you that? You cannot minimize Zoom while you are recording this meeting.
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. All right, my first question denotes Turkey. Did we get burned in the polls?
Polls are garbage. I don't know why anybody cares anymore.
Yeah, I guess
They're
no that
inaccurate before, they're inaccurate now. It just unforgivable inaccuracies
yeah.
just keep happening. I mean, in Greece, they were about the worst they ever could have been.
Yeah, that I think it had
Um,
like a 14-point polling error.
if not closer to 20. I mean, that was just disgusting. In Alberta, they were wrong again.
Yeah, well, although
Um,
the opposition did gain seats, like if they
well,
just
they were always going to gain seats, but you had pollsters, unironically talking about, you know, the non-urban portions being, within 20 points. It
what?
ended up being more like 40.
Seriously, they were actually talking about the NDP being competitive in non-urban Alberta outside of Banff.
Yeah, just an absolute joke.
They
Um,
only won one rural seat.
and even then, doesn't it have a huge urban component to it?
I guess so, yeah.
Doesn't even count. Like, it's just the usual suspects keep doing what the usual suspects always do.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, all they needed to do was squeeze six more seats out of Calgary and they would have won a majority.
They would have, but that doesn't forgive the overall numbers being wrong.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess I mean, already before the election it was looking tight. It was looking like it could go either way.
Yeah, and it only ended up being like, I mean, technically, even it didn't, because even if they had taken all those, I think they would have been one seat short.
Yeah.
So, and of course, even they also had gained about 6 seats in really narrow wins, including one by like 7 votes. So
Yeah.
it's
And
not as if,
the United
um,
Conservatives also did well in the popular vote, 53 to 45.
yeah, I don't know if it was that. I think it was more like 51 to 45, but yeah,
Right.
they should be thinking about PR.
Yeah. Alberta?
Yeah,
Hmm. I don't know.
as that isn't getting any better.
The problem with PR is that it produces in Italy, we have a joke that Italy has a Prime Minister of the Month club.
Been pretty stable since the last election. No,
Yeah,
but I
anyway,
mean, PR I don't think would contribute that heavily to any division. Um,
yeah. I'm a big fan of ranked choice voting.
that wouldn't help either. The problem is any district voting system is going to hurt the right in Alberta because they sweep the rural areas by such a hard degree. That until the census gives those areas a majority, they're at risk.
Yeah, the Calgary, although, conservatives used to dominate Calgary,
Well, it's getting slightly more left wing. I mean, obviously, the
yeah.
city is still
Well,
extremely close.
particularly because the United Conservatives ran the most right-wing candidate they could have run.
I mean, I think
Danielle
anyone's
Smith?
pretty right wing.
I mean, Danielle Smith, I think, was an Alberta separatist.
She probably was, but I would assume the vast majority of them are.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, actually, unlike the United States, in Canada, provinces do have the right to secede, but it needs to be a quote clear, like it can't be just a simple majority. Apparently, a referendum on this, it's a simple majority is not sufficient, but the court doesn't hasn't said specifically what a supermajority would be needed.
I mean, if like yes had gained 50,000 votes, Quebec would be an independent state today. So
In the 1995 referendum.
yeah. So,
But yeah,
and
but
even
like
since then, if such a vote were to be held, the feds would have to hold the place by force, and I highly doubt that would end very well.
yeah.
Um,
Actually, Gatineau, which is where the feds are located, the margin there alone, the no margin there alone, was more than the province-wide margin.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That's a place that just needs to divide. Especially given the discriminatory measures they keep introducing.
If Quebec secedes, it's the end of Canada.
Well, I mean, if you took the French portions of New Brunswick, that would also be good.
I'm genuinely surprised the United States has not invaded the maritime provinces in southern Quebec yet.
We don't want all the French speakers.
Yeah, I mean, but you guys would basically get to secure control of the St. Lawrence River.
Doesn't sound all that important.
I mean, it's only the biggest trade artery in North America.
Doesn't sound that important.
um anyway, the reason I guess the only thing I care about Turkey is I don't care at this point. Erdogan's won. He's going to be in power for another decade. Um all I care about is whether or not Sweden actually gets to join NATO.
They'll get their F-16s and hopefully that'll be enough. The opposition just kept stepping in it. I honestly don't know if they would have been any better than him.
Okay, well,
Um,
I mean, the opposition candidate was a Turkish nationalist.
Being a Turkish nationalist is fine, but he had the simple strain of dovishness that all sort of center left people have.
Yeah,
Um, and they can never really be trusted, I've always thought, on important questions like that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I was kind of hoping that this wasn't going to end the same way Hungary ended last year, but it did.
Well, even there, the opposition was just a ram bunch of complete morons, fairly typical.
Yeah, the most successful thing that the opposition has done is an opposition has been successful at is Poland, where they actually caused divided government.
I mean, they took the Senate by like a seat, but honestly, I wouldn't call that very impressive.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, they will probably win the next election, but I highly
the
doubt that'll be
opposition?
good for us. Oh yeah,
Oh
government's
wow.
n- they're not even close to a majority.
I mean, the Poles have PIS in the lead though.
Yeah, but it's a and
Which means they'll probably be the biggest party.
well, easily, but the opposition brutally hates them and will do anything they can. The only thing, I mean, the Russia stuff could hurt them.
I mean, because
But
like
I
the
highly
PIS is
doubt.
anti-Russian.
Well, everybody's anti-Russian, but there's some. Obviously, PIS has been physically attacked by Russia before, as they obviously shot that plane down.
What about Tusk? Is he
Um,
anti-Russian?
Ostensibly, but I've heard they're old ties that they want to investigate, which is probably a lie. But
Yeah. You know what's been my only problem with the PIS is the Auschwitz issue.
it's a matter of national pride. Nobody wants to admit they were involved in massacres.
Yeah, but I mean, I was lucky enough to visit the museum before the current government
Interesting.
came to power. So there were things they could say at
Long
that
time
time
ago.
they can't now. I actually went in January 2015.
That would have been when they won. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, they were able to say things at the time that they can't say now.
about right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's really my only beef with them. Um, anyway, I guess Ukraine I guess like there's only so much we can talk about because Ukraine has requested silence on this issue, but it looks like the Ukrainians are advancing.
Quite aggressively.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously they have an incentive not to say anything, but I think it's fairly notable that hell that uh that the Russians have been having to keep reusing the same, couple of Leopards being blown up for like
Yeah.
the past week. You know,
Yeah.
when they're in pure just hard copium phase, things aren't going very well for them.
Yeah, on the whole, I think Ukraine basically has gotten everything it's wanted. It's gonna have the Atakams issue has been solved by the British and the F6 I mean there's the jets are gonna be there, but not in time before it gets cold.
Well, I mean, the problem is that we're stuck with an administration that is afraid of what needs to be done.
Right. Although but
And that's never going to to change, you know?
Yeah.
These people don't, and it's always the problem with nobody can really be trusted because the right is far too compromised, you know,
In the
all this
US,
well, just everywhere that isn't Poland, basically.
I have a
Uh,
question.
no, but they're far too we're far too compromised. And the left is either compromised or too weak.
Yeah, I have a
They're
question.
afraid of war. They're afraid of all this, and all that's gonna get them is, defeat.
If Donald Trump were president today, would Ukraine still be a country?
I don't know. I think everybody's a little too glib about it. Um, it's difficult to know because on the one hand, they may have thought the Russians would just be allowed to walk in. On the other hand, they wouldn't have known how we'd react,
Hmm.
and it could have been fairly, problematic for them. So, I don't know. I doubt it. I would tend to say, especially given the way that they've been running around for the past 3 years, that it would be pretty problematic for them. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
but
I
it's
find it
it's
troubling.
difficult to know.
I find it troubling that both Donald Trump and DeSantis have basically said they're going to stop supporting Ukraine. This is not Americans' war. Blah 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 blah.
Well, I published a statement on what the governor said. It wasn't that bad. Um,
Yeah,
it's obvious he knows he needs to, you know,
he has. I mean, I think.
avoid too much kind of just random stuff.
Yeah.
But
I think what more people are seeing about Ron DeSantis is sort of this old expression I've heard is, what do I think about Ron DeSantis? I do not think of him, and the more I see, the less I think.
that's probably a good thing, actually. I mean, I think obviously, primary polling is garbage. Primary predictions are garbage. Um, I think the
Mhm.
launch was pretty trash, but other than that, I think
He
the
he
slow rolling approach is
did
wise.
he launch his campaign with a crypto bro?
Uh, does Banks count as a crypto bro?
I don't know, but I
I
mean, like,
genuinely don't know.
I didn't watch the launch. I honestly have better things to do with my life, like you know, yeah. I mean, yeah. I just imagine instead of watching that
Hmm.
launch, imagine the time you could be spending with your spouse, and
That would require me to have one.
true.
So since I don't, I had nothing better to do. I stopped watching because I was just quite frankly bored.
Yeah, I mean, why didn't
Um,
he do a traditional speech?
I suspect just to be different. There was nothing wrong with the idea, but I think it would have been better to just have the traditional and then go do that.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if DeSantis's campaign is going to end up looking like Scott Walker 2015.
I doubt it. His lacked a lot of sort of lower level people, getting consulted to death. Um, I don't see that from this bunch. They may be terminally online, but they're not complete morons.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm particularly going to be amused to when the debates happen to see the former governor of New Jersey and Trump's future cellmate Chris Christie go.
I doubt he'll make the debates. I don't see him making it to 40,000 donors.
Yeah. Oh, he needs 40,000 donations to make. They have donation requirements now.
Yeah, I think it's like 4% in the polls or something like that, and 40,000.
Oh,
Either donors or donations. Probably donors.
so
Um,
so already debate one. They're already going at it.
I suspect I would be surprised if Trump even shows up.
Yeah, Trump's not
He
going to
has
show
nothing.
up.
He has nothing to gain from that.
Yeah,
He is
Trump.
absolutely. He's a trash debater, and the debates for him last time probably lost him the election.
Yeah.
That was honestly an embarrassment to watch. You know
Yeah.
what?
By the way, I actually asked someone whether, um, whether Donald Trump was going to debate Biden. I asked this like in 2019 whether Trump was even going to debate Biden, considering how badly he did. And someone answered, I think in his mind he won all three debates with Clinton.
Uh, I mean, she was a really weak debater too, so that wouldn't that he's not that far off
But
there. but
I think I remember that in
that was just
2016.
embarrassment.
I remember in 2016, my recollection was he went 0 for 3 in the debates.
I mean, versus his performance, last time it was a triumph.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
I mean, in 2020.
yeah, to me, but like at the third debate in particular, the moment was, will you accept the results? I will keep you in suspense. You know,
Yeah, as I said, he's not a strong debater. This is just weird. He's not a strong debater, and that leads to
yeah.
weird things.
I mean, we already know, by the way, there's not going to be any general election debates.
Nobody has anything to gain from that.
Yeah, are we going
Especially
back?
especially these days.
Are we going
No
back to
way
the
they're stupid enough to let him debate.
Are we going back to the permanently to the pre-1960 situation?
Mm, I mean, there'll be town halls and such.
Yeah.
So, I mean, admittedly, doing a town hall with CNN is just a bad idea, but
Yeah, I remember when Trump pulled out of that second debate, that those dueling town halls. So some of my liberal friends were mad that NBC did the one with Trump.
I mean, they're always going to be, and they're not exactly wrong, but they gain tons of votes when it happens. So I don't know why they
The
should
votes or
complain.
viewers?
Well, both.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else? I've been watching a show called Madam Secretary. Uh,
Terrible show.
Terrible show. I don't know. I mean, the first season's plot is very interesting.
They're all basically the same. Basically, all of those shows, it's pure cope.
Oh,
West Wing is, of course, the worst offender, but basically all of those are just pure cope.
I haven't seen West Wing.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Um. Anyway, what is there anything? By the way, based on a tweet that I saw from my friend, uh, Justin Yexton, I genuinely thought that Rishi Sunak had resigned and was replaced with Preeti Patel.
She's gone, isn't she?
Preeti Patel is gone?
Wasn't there some bullying thing that she got wrecked for?
Let
I
me
couldn't
look
even
this
remember.
up.
Is she still in the cabinet? She probably is, but I thought she was gone.
Okay, Preeti Patel,
Been a while,
is
admittedly.
Home Secretary until after Boris Johnson's resignation.
I think she was in that bunch, but I don't think those resignations really count, do they?
She hasn't been in the cabinet since Boris Johnson was replaced.
May want to keep up on things a bit a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, true. Okay, I mean, I don't follow cabinet level politics in Britain. I did, however, see that the former First Minister of Scotland is now in Scotland Yard's custody.
Yeah, that's really funny. That
Yeah.
doesn't remotely surprise me, that bunch being a bunch of criminals.
Would it be absolutely hilarious if the whole Scottish independence referendum saga ended with the SNP getting wiped out in the next Westminster election?
I mean, they lost in 2017. They lost
And
whenever
recovered in 2019.
not really, only by their enemy's division. Their numbers have sucked for a while now. The fundamental problem is that Scottish independence it's still not economically viable. It
Yeah,
wasn't then and it isn't now. And it never will be.
yeah. I mean,
Huh.
I think England would literally have to commit a genocide in Scotland for Scotland to secede.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, what did you think about my idea of dangling Northern Ireland over Ireland's head in exchange for NATO membership?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trust the Irish with anything. Not when, we're about to have an SF government.
Is Sinn Féin pro-Russian?
Oh yeah.
Hey,
As far left as they better be pro-Russian.
yeah. Well, they're now the largest government in Belfast.
Yeah, not a difficult title to achieve, admittedly, given they're getting all the nationalist votes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, but now that Catholics outnumber Protestants for the first time, isn't the UK now required under the Good Friday Agreement to call that border poll?
No, given it would still lose if voted on today.
Um, how are you so sure about how the non-aligned voters would go?
Why would they vote for independence? Oh, the alliance is not pro-Protestant, but it isn't pro-independence.
Oh wow. Sorry, I just got a notification about something on Twitter. Do you subscribe to the Babylon Bee?
I do. Did they do something funny?
No, they have a subscriber only space right now.
Oh, then I don't subscribe to them, no.
Okay, well, they're like the only one I'm subscribed to right now.
Hmm.
Um, I I mean, the Babylon Bee is basically like the right wing's onion.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
its entire purpose. How weird.
I'm actually. Oh, what?
No, something totally unrelated.
I'm actually friends with someone who works at the Bee.
That's tragic. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Uh,
They are pretty funny, but
yeah.
only in a ostensive troll kind of way, you know?
All right. Let's see. Is there anything going on in my feed? Let's see. Is our Zoom about to end abruptly? No, it's not yet. Yes, I don't. I'm not paying for a Zoom subscription anymore. Um,
What a shame.
yeah. Do you have it?
No. I use Teams or Discord for most of my communication.
Oh, so do you think we should go there from now on?
The Discord?
Yeah.
Possible.
Are you allowed to record on Discord?
I mean, you would just screen record it now, but I don't think there's a native recording feature.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for, but I mean, I could find a screen recording software. It's not like I have a bunch of other stuff to buy.
Do you have an NVIDIA GPU? If so, you have screen recording software.
I have a Mac now, if you can believe it.
Then I have no clue what you can do.
Are you still a Windows user?
I hate Mac. I
I
have an Android phone,
my
a
wife
Windows
can
computer.
my wife convinced me to get a Mac, and honestly, at this point, when this thing, whenever this thing is fails, which I'm told is actually going to be in no less than 5 years, I'm honestly going to go back to a Windows.
I've
Like,
never liked Mac. The lack of a real GPU is always going to be a killer.
yeah. Did you see that the governor of Nevada signed a bill requiring gender affirming care to be covered?
No, and I saw people were salty about that. Who cares?
The governor of Nevada, I think he may be the most moderate governor in the country.
I mean, the governor of Vermont exists, no?
Yeah. Oh, I've actually often heard, I've joked, by the way, Vermont has this reputation of being a this ultra liberal place. But do you know what percentage of the Vermont electorate split their tickets in 2022?
A lot,
40%.
at
A
least.
pl a plurality of Vermont voters are ticket splitters.
I mean, that's not surprising, no? They have a reasonably decent governor with no real power to vote
Didn't
for.
didn't the Democrats lose their supermajority?
Did they? I'd be,
I mean, in 2020 it sounded like they did.
see, they have 112 to 38 in the House, so that's super majority. And find a button to go to the Senate.
Mhm.
23 to 7 in the Senate. So no, they didn't
So
lose
they
it.
must have gotten it back in the last election.
Let's see. It looks
Yeah.
the same in the Senate and the Assembly.
Yeah. If you want to get a sense of
They may have, mo but we still didn't have the numbers. They just lost them to independent and progressives, I think.
okay.
We lost a lot of seats in 2022, though.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Vermont is that actually, if you want to get a sense of how badly Republicans did, aside from Phil Scott, Peter Welch carried Essex County.
I mean, did anybody even try?
Trump won Essex County in both times.
No, but so far as did we even have a real candidate?
I don't know.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
The party is atrophied that, we don't really need to compete for the governorship, right? Because we're gonna win that by default unless we run a moron.
Well, actually,
Uh,
in 2022, there was talk about Republicans being, I mean, there's talk about Republicans in 2022 being competitive in the lieutenant governor race.
oh, because we had a good candidate and we still lost.
Yeah, quite badly from what I heard.
Uh, 11 points, not too
Oh,
bad
only
for
11
that.
points. I mean,
Actually, we didn't. I've never even heard of this
Phil
dude.
Scott was really hoping to get a successor.
No, it was last time that we had Scalot Mine run, and that was only a 7-point defeat, so not too
Yeah,
bad.
Scott Milne.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Molly Gray. By the way, is Becca Ballant on the way to the Senate?
Oh,
Becca Ballant is the at-large congresswoman.
probably.
Because I am banking at this point on Bernie Sanders retiring.
I doubt it. He'll die in office.
He hasn't announced his plans yet. Ben Cardin and Tom Carper have already said they're retiring, and they are all younger than him.
Yeah, but they're not egotistical fools. Well, they're fools, but maybe not egotistical.
Come on. Come on. Zadie Bernie, just retire. You probably don't know what I mean when I said Zadie Bernie.
Not in the slightest.
Zadie means grandpa.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Jewish.
Member
Um,
of the club, I see.
yes, proud one. Um, is there anything going on today that sorry, I had an important meeting today, so I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in the world, but it looks like the former president of the United States has pleaded not guilty.
Probably the funniest criminal trial I've ever heard of in my life. What
What do you think is going to be the verdict?
Oh, guilty, easily.
Yeah.
He obviously did it.
At that point, does he become disqualified from running?
No, he can even run from prison if he wants.
He which states would he be off the ballot in?
Done. I doubt any of them have. You can't run from prison. They're not constitutional
You
regardless.
you can't run if you're a convicted felon.
You should be able to. States are not allowed to impose restrictions on that, and even if they tried, technically he isn't on the ballot. His
He
electors are.
he may be running for a position he himself's not allowed to vote for if he's in prison.
That would be a problem, but again, I don't think they can require that.
I mean, don't 48 out of 50 states have prison disenfranchisement?
Yeah, Florida is definitely one of them.
Yeah. I think I think Trump would have to move his residence to Maine or Vermont in order to vote if he were in prison.
Well, he'd definitely be welcomed among the French speakers.
Yeah. What actually, I was actually curious to see some of the primary results in Massachusetts last year where the Italians voted for what's that lunatic guy who won the GOP nomination for governor.
No idea.
He was kind of he was like I don't even know how to describe him. Northeastern Trumpist Republicans are honestly the weirdest bunch. Jeff Daniel, maybe.
Well, they're so extreme that no point to, you know,
You know, keep a
being
memory of them.
reasonable. No, because I mean the moderates are going to join the other party.
Right. I mean, I feel like the Republican Party in Massachusetts is at this point um it's like a three guys, right?
So far as what?
I mean, like like there's probably 3 people in the Massachusetts Republican Party at this point.
Didn't they kick the one dude out who was causing a lot of problems?
Jeff Daniel?
Was he the chairman?
No, he was the nominee for governor and the nominee for U.S. Senate in 2018.
What was his name? The chairman, they finally kicked him out, and he's a lot of lawsuits. Not going to be a viable party there for quite a while.
Have we talked about? I mean, we should talk about how crazy South Carolina Republicans are.
Why would they be saying?
I mean, well, they basically ousted a reasonable guy who voted to impeach Trump, and and they almost ousted 2 other guys. William
Yeah.
Timmons and Nancy Mace only got 53% in their primaries.
Ace, she needs to go. She's been just a terrible candidate for years. Even I wouldn't be sad to see her go.
Sorry, I am. It has been a long day.
It'll be interesting to see if Finland can finalize an agreement for a new government.
Who did they need to finalize an agreement with?
The People's Party, I believe.
Oh, you mean right. This is the new right-wing government, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, aside from Denmark, the right has been on. Sorry, I guess no. Aside from Norway, the right's been on a roll in Nordia.
Aren't they leading in the polls now?
In Norway?
In Norway? Yeah.
Well, they just had an election like a year or 2 ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a good time to be in government. That's the problem.
Yeah. Except if your name for whatever reason is Nicolas Maduro, or Erdogan, or
Even he almost lost.
he didn't come that close to losing. I mean, he's not going to face another. I think at this point the opposition, knowing that the people of Turkey are okay with the president crashing their economy, I think the opposition at this point is going to flee, and I think Turkey is basically going to become a failed state at this point.
Well, the problem is they never could figure out what they were going to do. They were far too hardcore on the question of the East without really having any, substantive policies on anything.
Yeah. There was a vote on the Abraham Accords ambassador bill, and the usual suspects voted no.
Oh yeah, I saw that. What a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame that there's a growing anti-Israel and anti-Semitic caucus.
Well, it isn't terribly surprising. The more funny question is going to be when the bill comes back up.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully Spain gets a reasonable government this summer. Greece's
Spain?
reasonable government is going to be easily reelected.
Wait, they're calling a snap vote?
In Spain?
In
Yeah.
Greece?
Yeah. The election's in like a week.
Didn't they literally just have an election?
Yeah.
Wow.
Greece has always been known for rapid fire elections when no government has come out. Again, that was just a case of the just absolute garbage polls. Totally unredeemable.
Yeah.
To the point of like, why are we looking at this? I mean, some of these are just, it's gross. It's gross how incorrect these were. I mean, you had pollsters, predicting, the far left going to be in the, mid or the, almost 30%, about 30%. And they ended up with 20.
Wow.
You can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess like the reason I've been paying attention to both Italy and Greece is because those are the two countries that have not legalized gay marriage that I would suspect would be next in Europe to do so.
Italy won't with its current government.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably true.
And Greece won't just because they have no reason to.
Yeah.
I mean, Italy, the polls are only trending up for the government. Although it'll be curious to see if FI can transform itself with the unfortunate death of Berlusconi.
Oh, wow. Oh, you mean Forza Italia?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
more. I mean, the ironically, the brothers of Italy have done extremely well. Um, at being a reasonable bunch so far, anyway.
I'll be curious to know if the Nationals can come back to power in New Zealand.
Maybe that. What is it? It's like 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, at least Ardern is gone. My goodness, she was a disaster.
I mean, I'm guessing the right wants her back. They were doing a lot better before she left.
Really? She won them a majority.
And the election will be towards the end of the year, and
Look,
I
you
mean,
know
it's close. It'll be tight.
do you know how popular you have to be to get a majority government in New Zealand?
When all of your ideological friends are gone, shouldn't be any problem.
Yeah. I just I really hope there's a change of government in the ZZ.
It looks about even, perhaps, in terms of the chances.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, Australia won't be turning to the right anytime soon.
Yeah, no, that was an unfortunate decision by Albanese to not to cancel the embassy relocation.
Well, of course, they can't. They obviously can't be trusted. They're far too close with China, and the right. The irony is they actually. I mean, isn't the referendum going fairly poorly in terms of the trend for the government?
The referendum, wait, they're voting on something in Australia?
Yeah, the
Okay.
voice.
Oh, oh, you mean to have like a Maori government like voice in government?
No idea. Honestly, the structure sounds a total waste of everybody's time. Um, it's totally symbolic.
Okay, Australian Indigenous Voice Referendum. Last vote was to approve an alteration of the Australian Constitution, creating the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, represent Indigenous Australians in the Parliament and federal government on matters of Indigenous affairs. The referendum, prepared by the National Indigenous Australians Agency and conducted by, let's see, uh, what polls? Okay, well, Animal Justice and Australian Democrats support it. Um, Democratic Alliance and Communists support it. The Christians oppose it.
I mean,
Uh,
fundamentally, the problem is the polls are. I mean, when is it?
uh, Jumping back into it. What were you saying about the referendum is going to be held on um
Late in the year.
October or December of this year, I think.
That's what they say apparently, but the trend is in the wrong direction for yes. It'll be close, I suspect.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter either way. It's not as if, they're adding 10 seats for an extremely left-wing indigenous population. But,
Yeah, I mean, well, even in Ontario, there are ridings that should not exist that are in the far north.
well, of course.
Yeah.
A system that doesn't require seats to be equal in size is always gonna result in funny things.
Yeah. Um,
Which
sorry,
is fine.
I'm
I mean, obviously, it looks like we got Guatemala coming up next week. That'll be fun.
oh, that's like it's is the right wing government gonna win again? Like it's heard.
Their party is basically gone, but it's mostly just a question of who makes the second round. They banned the popular guy,
Oh,
so
great.
that's
Guatemala is seeping into is becoming basically the right wing Nicaragua.
not really. They banned. It was a right wing candidate. They banned.
Really?
And it looks like they banned them also the last time. So they may
I
just be really trash at
I wouldn't be
filing
surprised
paperwork.
if El Salvador goes down the same road.
It is already down the same road now.
Yeah, I mean, Central America is. I actually understand the people seeking asylum in Central America coming to the U.S. because things are not looking good in Central America. So I understand why people are coming to the U.S. from Central America.
Well, they obviously want to get away. There's no, I don't think anybody disputes that.
Yeah. Um, like I think like I think Costa Rica and Panama are basically like the centers of stability in that part of North America.
Panama barely, but Costa Rica, yeah.
Panama is also a dictatorship.
No, but I wouldn't call it just the wealthiest, most stable place.
Right, okay. I mean, they've got the canal that's making them rich.
I don't think the tariffs on that are very high. Not high enough to run a country.
Yeah. Um, I've often wondered whether the US should depose Ortega and build another canal.
No, they should just depose and get it over with. I mean, obviously, Haiti needs to get a grip eventually because they're nearing collapse.
Yeah, they're nearing Sudan status
Yeah. And
or
so
South Sudan.
it's just a bunch of the same old nonsense. That is just exceedingly dangerous. Um,
Yeah.
from the perspective of,
Okay.
stability and ever being aligned with us.
I have a question. Is Russia on the verge of collapse?
Not really.
I mean, you don't think the Russian state is going to disintegrate?
No. They're
Okay.
an absolutely outrageously terrible people and they're totally unredeemable.
I mean, but there are probably people like particularly in the Caucasus as well as in the Far East who would like independence, no?
Yeah, but outside of their army not coming back, they have enough to keep themselves in power.
I mean, Putin could stay in power by calling this off.
Yeah, well that would probably undermine him. There are people even more hardcore than he is.
Yeah, like Kadyrov.
Well, just all the usual suspects, Gherkin and his lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Putin's in it for the long haul. If he weren't, he wouldn't have had that referendum 3 years ago.
Well, yeah. Well, that's just because they pretend that they're a legitimate state. Whereas,
Yeah,
of course, everybody knows that they are not.
yeah, for sure. Um, I'm really hoping Belarus has that color revolution like several years late.
I mean, if their counteroffensive peters out eventually, it wouldn't be too difficult to just go and get them.
To
Just
just send in the
straight,
troops.
yeah, just straight invade them now.
I mean, I'm sure there are Belarusians fighting for Ukraine, so I'm sure that they'd like that.
Just turn the army north. They'd easily make it to Minsk through the,
Are
10,000
are there
guys the
still
Belarusians
Russian
had.
troops there though?
Probably.
So they'd be fighting the Russians anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Their removal will be, well, it'll be important to get or to deal with them before they cause any more unnecessary trouble.
I would expect the Russians to depose him before Ukraine gets to them.
They could try, but such a scenario assumes most of their army doesn't come back.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised we haven't sieged Kaliningrad yet.
The EU isn't strong enough to do so. They should have cut the place off and let it starve to death.
Yeah. Should it go back as Königsberg?
Nah, just give it to the Poles.
Yeah.
Ship all the Russians out and use it for storage for,
Isn't that
pickle
illegal
tearing.
now?
Not really. The Baltic states, have started cracking down on, their internal dissident Russian populations. It's gonna be the only way to restore order in a lot of these places.
Why didn't the Russians in Lithuania get Lithuanian citizenship?
They're not allowed to. They don't have birthright citizenship, And you have to speak Lithuanian to get it. And swear loyalty to Lithuania, which they won't do.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, I'm actually very doubtful at this point Ukraine is going to be allowed to join NATO.
I mean, they just have to win first.
Yeah. But they have to expel the Russians from all their territory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean, if they can break through, they have a reasonable chance at creating quite a problem for the Russians.
Yeah. Um I mean if I mean this if you by the way, Putin believes if Ukraine joins NATO, that checkmates Russia.
Not wrong.
Yeah. Um I just dream of a day in which Russia becomes a democracy.
I dream of a day when it vanishes from existence, but that may be a separate matter.
Yeah.
Totally irredeemable group of people.
Um anyway. Did you watch the coronation?
No,
Sorry, I have Madam Secretary on the brain. I've been thinking a lot about the issues on that show.
plenty of them, I'd imagine.
Oh, you mean issues as in what's wrong with the show?
Yeah, well, always.
Yeah. Um, Anything you recommend that I watch?
Not really. I've been fairly out of most of that stuff for quite some time.
Mhm. Um, let's see.
Interesting.
Uh, um, wow. So Fox News, let's listen to this. I'm actually curious to know if after hearing this, uh, goodness, I want you to hear this, and I want you to let me know if after this you think Jesse Waters is a bit of a moron. Here's what he has to say about homeless people.
Gabbard's now at maybe midfield, but he has to understand homelessness isn't about lack of affordable housing. It's about drug addicts that want to wander around and live in tents on the sidewalk. And so you can't coddle antisocial behavior. You can't subsidize antisocial behavior. You have to stigmatize it. You can't celebrate people with purple hair, with nose rings, 4 kids with 4 different men who are dressed like trash and make them out to be some sort of cutting edge heroes. You have to call them what they are. These are people that have failed in life and they're on their deathbed. And if we're not honest about it, we're never going to fix this problem.
What do you think about that?
I'd say the middle of that, the 4 kids bit, doesn't define a lot of them, but he's about correct.
Okay.
Homelessness is very rarely a question of a lack of resources. The vast amount of money that is spent on trying to get people into these housing, projects or foundations or such just proves that. Um, it's a problem of states unwilling to force or enforce bans on antisocial behavior and unwilling to force people who are, on too many restricted substances to make reasonable decisions into treatment while tolerating the people who sell that kind of thing.
I have I have a question. Who is Daniel Penny?
Never heard of him.
Okay. I'm trying. Let me see if I can see. Let's
East
see.
Village in Manhattan. So I take the subway multiple times a day.
Oh, he's the guy who killed someone on the subway.
Um, he had to go.
Yeah. Who had to go?
Him.
Yeah. Well, I have a guy in my tweet saying that he's a national hero and that he needs a full pardon, apology, and a medal of courage and bravery.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but he was correct to deal with that. You
Bum.
can't tolerate that kind of stuff in public. You know.
Okay. So apparently Andy Oogles wants Kamala Harris impeached.
For what? Is she a cop or a communist? Or both? I don't know who that is, so it could go either way.
Kamala Harris or Andy Ogles?
The latter.
He's a congressman from Tennessee, I think.
Ah,
He won that gerrymandered seat.
that's he's probably. I mean, I'd rather have McCarthy as president than her. So
Let's see. I mean, wow. So here's the normal. By the way, no one is actually defending Trump or what he did. They're just saying,
well, because it's an entirely unnecessary case because all he had to do was give him back.
yeah. Oh my goodness, get ready to feel dumb after hearing this.
Show is brought to you by Blackout Coffee. It is powered by Blackout Coffee. Family owned, 100% committed to conservative values from sourcing the beans to the roasting process. Customer support, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. That is blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. Super happy to partner with them. 100% endorsement. Check it out for all your coffee needs. We are now having to, I'm guilty of this. I'm going through my kitchen, I'm going through my refrigerator, and I'm starting to ask the question, well, is this ketchup bottle woke? Is this mustard? I mean, literally, we're at the place now where we have to go through, is the company that makes this? And so, blackoutcoffee.com/Charlie. I'm sure many of you are coffee drinkers because you're high energy. Show is
You know who that was?
Is that Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
It's been a long time since I've listened to him.
Yeah.
Um,
You could probably
I
tell
mean,
I'm having fun using the share audio feature on this.
of course.
Uh,
I mean, he's been crazy for a long time, and his people have been crazy for a long time.
Yeah. Did he ever? I think I saw a cartoon of Charlie Kirk wearing an adult diaper.
I mean, if you're into that kind of thing,
Yeah, I mean, it was he was basically calling him a baby or a man child.
that's about right. As I said, he's been an idiot for a long time. Of one of the least to tell. Even Crowder is more intelligent than him, and he's not just an abuser,
Yeah.
but he's an idiot.
I saw
So
people like blowing up this whole transgender activist goes topless at the White House.
who cares?
Yeah, who can honestly, people are making a big deal out of this, but you know, if Bill Clinton can get his penis sucked in the Oval Office by a White House intern, and when the story breaks, his approval rating skyrockets to 70%, Biden's going to be just fine.
Well, and it's not as if we're terribly innocent on that account. His problem was he lied about it. If he was honest, he would have been fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Lying about it was just a bad idea.
yeah, so call me skeptical that Biden's gonna be hurt by that.
I mean, nobody's hurt by anything these days. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not, not in the, 50% to 20% approval effect anyway.
Yeah. Salakabooma mechakabula bibbidi bobbidi boo. I can't speak gibberish, so this is what I say. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Yes, I'm still here.
Well, you may be in the call, but mentally, that's a different question. I mean, I listened to the governor's interview on Glenn Beck, and it was reasonable. Beck's always been,
DeSantis?
yeah, kind of out there, but he's at least a reasonably good interviewer, especially when he's trying to be friendly. So that was better actually than his launch.
Yeah.
Doing the, right-wing media
on
tour
Hugh
kind of
Hewitt's
thing.
show? On Hugh Hewitt's show?
I can't listen to Hugh Hewitt, but no, Glenn Beck.
Oh. So I heard him. I mean, what is DeSantis's war on the FBI? America's most successful anti-groomer organization?
It's a little out there. As I've said, there's evidence of a lot of terminally online stuff. I don't think it's reasonable though to play, single clips from people's rally, early primary rallies. Um, that's always sort of a different audience than the rest of us. Um,
Oh, speaking of
so
speaking of him, of someone who lowers your intelligence, guess who this is?
And I'm happy to announce this is my commitment on January 20th, 2025, if I'm elected the next U.S. president, to pardon Donald J. Trump for these offenses in this federal case. And I have challenged, I have
that
demanded
Indian dude.
that every
Vivek
other candidate in
Ramaswamy.
this race either
Yeah.
sign this commitment to pardon
Never heard of
on
him.
January 20th, 2025, or else to explain why they are not. And I'm happy to
Ugh.
Yeah, total waste of everybody's time.
He's
I
gonna
agree
run for
with
Senate in Ohio, isn't he?
I agree with Varad that all of this is a waste of time. That the dumbest people on the face of the earth. Well, there's two groups of really stupid people. There's our donors and then our analysts, all complete morons. He's not going absolutely anywhere, and there's no point to even covering him.
Yeah.
It's like just there's no reason to talk about him. Even Scott, and I like the man, but even he really deserves nothing. Coverage wise.
Scott.
Senator Scott.
Oh, so Rick Scott, Tim Scott.
Yes, Tim Scott.
I actually like him. I really wish he was the front runner.
As do I, although admittedly, it is kind of funny for those to be angry that he's not married.
I mean, I'm not angry at him.
No, but just I've seen commentary to that effect from the usual suspects.
Oh, you mean like the tradcaths?
Kind of, but yeah, with which there are quite a lot of them on our side.
I mean, apparently there are people who are attacking parents who send their kids to daycare. What the heck? What's wrong with sending your kids to daycare?
It's expensive as all hell.
And also, they also claim that, mothers should just stay home and then homeschool their kids, blah, blah, blah. If you don't do this, you failed as a parent, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, it is a useful thing to think about, at least in theory. It's probably less useful to actually talk about it, but
Yeah, I mean, just what? You know that I used to side with Christian conservatives because they were big on religious freedom, but now they seem to not be big on religious freedom anymore.
are they ever big on religious freedom?
I mean, I thought they were. You know, particularly like 10 years ago. Maybe I'm wrong. though.
Mostly for convenience, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, they have no other choice.
But I find myself disagreeing with Christian conservatives more and more and more and more and more.
I mean, perhaps that says something.
About me?
Well, perhaps. I mean, it's not, if any group hasn't really changed, it's probably them. They were lying before for a lot of their stuff. It was all just the usual nonsense, but interesting. But I mean, I wouldn't say they've changed very much. They've always been a bunch I've never particularly trusted.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should do our interview on Skype sometime.
Jesus.
No,
I wasn't aware it was 2010.
Okay, fine. No Skype then. But I mean, okay. Let's I'm not gonna show you Nancy Mason meet Maria Bartiromo show. I feel like I would lower your intelligence beyond lower than it should be.
She's crazy. It's almost kind of sad to watch how far she's fallen.
Yeah.
Cause literally it's a shame, I'd say.
Um. Okay. So, um, I'm reading a tweet that basically. Wait. What? This. I have to read this in real time. I haven't read this before. Little guy asking about funerals, cemeteries, burials. Highlights for him. Being assured you can suck your thumb in heaven and have as much syrup as you want on pancakes. So is a coffin basically just like a guitar case, but for people?
I can't say I've eaten edibles that strong before, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, I have heard of people who have actually died. God told them it wasn't their time and they got resuscitated.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, just I oh, look at that. Um, Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene has drawn another Democratic challenger supported by Act Blue and who will never win.
Of course, what a waste of everybody's money, which is fine. I mean, we want to encourage that kind of thing. It is rather funny how one of the funnier trends of this year is how McCarthy's actually managed to keep this bunch under control, mostly. I mean, even them surrendering, for some nonsense guarantee about being talked to or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just weak.
Wow. Do you follow Ian Miles Chong?
Never heard of him.
Oh, okay. I feel like he's this conspiracy theorist.
Oh, I do know who that is, but I don't. My internet connection doesn't extend to Malaysia, so I wouldn't know anything about him.
Is he in Malaysia now?
I was. Isn't that the usual joke?
I guess so. I must be. I guess it's in if you know, you know situation.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I know, but not
Yeah.
really.
We must be living through the weirdest timeline.
It's true. Even though I've been off of Twitter mostly, I've been very busy.
I honestly feel like I'm gonna be off of Twitter eventually soon.
Where would you go though? Reddit's busy committing suicide. Um,
Spend time with my wife.
oh,
You know, buy a dog, maybe have a baby or two.
haven't really considered any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I went outside yesterday and I was pretty happy to do that.
There's more to life than just being on Twitter.
And it's true,
Yeah.
even though there is quite a bit there.
Yeah. I mean, just doesn't feel like the website it used to be like.
I would say it's fairly similar.
I mean,
I think it's mostly, perhaps it's usually just who you follow.
I'm actually wondering if there's an order against Trump leaving the country at this point.
Where would he go?
Scotland?
Ship him right back, no?
Oh yeah, does the UK have an extradition treaty with the US?
Almost everybody does. He could flee to Russia, but that would be a little obvious.
Yeah. Um yeah, just yeah, I mean, he could always go to Russia.
As I just said,
Yeah. I mean, he could go to Dubai.
don't think he has enough money anymore for that, does he?
Really? Okay. Because I'm assuming I don't know if the UAE has an extradition treaty.
They wouldn't regardless.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you could also go to Slovenia.
I'm
I'm
sure they
sure.
have I'm sure they have an extradition treaty.
Well, I'm sure they make an exception because of his wife.
Doubt it. I know if Boris needs to flee anywhere, he can flee to Ukraine. They're already renaming the streets after him. They'd be happy to host him,
Yeah.
which is exceptionally funny, actually.
Why would Boris Johnson need to flee the UK?
I don't know if he doesn't want to pay the $1,000 fine or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're kind of running out of things to talk about.
There's always more things to talk about, whether it be, the fairly distasteful ruling from the court last week.
Oh, the
Yeah.
anti-racial gerrymandering ruling.
Well, it requires racial gerrymandering technically, but the ruling was more of a moral loss than a practical one. At worst, we'll lose 2 seats.
All right, what states are we looking at? Alabama, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi.
Very unlikely. It'll be Alabama and maybe Louisiana. The fundamental problem is that one of the points of the standard is that the district has to be compact. You can't draw additional black seats in any of those states. Even Louisiana is suspect, I think. Dems
Yeah.
really like to show that big hook seat, between Baton Rouge and the north. I don't buy the court forcing that. That's ghetto as all hell. The irony, I think Alabama had a chance to win the case if they had used the same argument as Shelby County used, as Kavanaugh's concurrence noted. So I think they'll lose the seat there, which honestly you can draw pretty compact, 2 seats. So not the world's worst loss. So long as they don't F with Texas's map later, because I know they have a case for something mildly similar on the same topic. It should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I mean, I am actually wondering, does this mean New York's 10th could get that Hasidic majority?
I doubt it. As I said, it has to be compact, and while you can make a Jewish one by connecting absolutely everybody together,
Yeah, I have a
doesn't-
Borough Park and
it doesn't
Williamsburg
qualify.
seat.
But it doesn't qualify for protection. It's something that, and the fundamental problem is even in the South, by probably 2030, those seats are not going to be majority black anymore. So the era of that being a serious problem or issue, more precisely, is almost over anyway.
Do you think we could be looking at 7-0 maps or what's it called? Or like 6-0 maps or 4-0 maps?
Not unless the lot dies. I mean, I don't think it'll go that fast, but I mean, like the seat in Georgia keeps looking more and more tenuous. That seat in North Carolina is not protected. So
And then there's a seat in Florida, the most litigated seat on election Twitter.
that wasn't protected then, and it's not protected now. An absolutely ridiculous concept that should be redrawn.
I mean, I don't think you should draw like a Biden plus 24 seat stretching from Tallahassee to Jacksonville. But what about a Biden plus 8 seat in Jacksonville?
You could. Luckily, that's a political question, but it wasn't majority black, and even if it wasn't compact.
Yeah.
That's why, like, the seat in Georgia is safe or is still protected because, at least for now, it's a square and it's majority black. That is protected. Everything else is not. That's why there's no protected seats in California, because you can no longer draw even a plurity black seat anywhere.
I mean, you could draw one majority Asian seat in I think it's only one of 2 places in the entire US you could draw a majority Asian seat.
It's not compact if I remember correctly. Mostly because I've done things like that. You can get it to plurity Asian fairly easily, but to get it a majority, you have to link a lot of kind of random stuff together. But I think the more interesting thing is going to be a lot like New York's old map probably violated the VRA in some areas.
Yeah.
So
should
we're
I
lucky that it got struck down.
show you my map?
They're definitely not getting a redraw in New York.
I know that's unfortunate. I mean,
Why?
I mean, I would love to see a redraw in New York. Because I want to see that New York 10. I'm sorry, I'm putting my foot down on that.
I'd rather hold the seat. So.
Right.
having it be nice and clean is fine. I mean, the irony is they did so poorly. I don't even know if their old map would have saved them.
All right, feast your eyes on this.
I already hate that light blue seat. Why is this so ugly? What have you done?
Okay.
The point of this.
Precinct lines. Let's so this is the Syracuse, this is a seat. Like I said, 3 competitive seats in the neck. 3 competitive seats on Long Island.
That's
You're-
gross. That light green one is disgusting. That orange one is probably realistic, but still disgusting. The one next to it is abominable. That blue one is abominable. Actually, it's worse. I didn't even see the second half of it. It's very abominable. What's wrong with you?
This is a Republican seat.
Yeah, but why would you draw it like that?
To get 2 Republican seats in New York City.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to draw it like that.
Yeah, like look at the stats on this seat. This is I absolutely love this. Trump won it by 13.5. Then it votes for Kirsten Gillibrand by like nearly 16.
We did really bad in 2018, so that's not surprising.
Cuomo also wins it by like nearly 17 points. Then Trump like kind of barely wins it. Like this is block voting in action. Yeah, I don't think they have. Oh wow, Schumer did really well here. Like really well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like this seat was never as close. With it, you know, the Staten Island seat. I'm sorry, I have no regrets about this seat. This is, I believe, Far Rockaway right here, by the way.
Disturbing.
Yeah. Okay. You don't like this.
I don't like that it's not, I mean, it either has to be really ugly or clean. In between, it's just brutal.
My map's not really ugly.
Not close enough.
You know, so some of these were kind of hard to make choices about. Like I believe this one seat's the only majority African American seat.
That's about right. I think you used to be able to draw 2.
Yeah. I have 3 majority Hispanic seats, by the way.
That's not difficult. There are a ton of them there.
Yeah. I think some of these are like mixed race, like this one's majority Asian.
Looks about right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not majority Asian in voters, but close enough.
Well, let's see. Let's click on number 6. There we go.
Maybe.
See that? Anyway, I wanted to show you that map. Honestly, I think I'm about done for the evening. I think we've run out of stuff to talk about. So
No, we're about to run out of time.
yeah, I mean, we could always just do this again and again and again.
Well, of course, but
But I think you're also probably getting tired.
I'm always tired. That's usually not a good standard for anything.
Yeah, I mean, so if you like this, please subscribe and follow Twitter. At CA Cameron GOP and at Red Hill John. We'll see you next
Whoa.
time. What?
No, just
Okay.